listeners to part 2 of our two-part series on operant and classical conditioning. Today we will be going over operant conditioning. Now, operant conditioning is pretty simple, but it can feel complicated. So to start off, we're going to start with the four main terms: positive and negative. The things you need to know about these is you need to forget the implications that come with it. Positive does not always mean good, and negative does not always mean bad. In this context, positive only means to give, and negative means to take. What's really important is reinforcement and punishment. Those will be the same as implied. So, for example, in positive reinforcement, say little Timmy gets an A on his test. Little Timmy is then going to get a cookie for doing well on his test. You provide a positive stimulus to reinforce a behavior you want them to repeat. Now, you could also have negative reinforcement, in which, say, little Timmy doesn't get to play the Xbox until he gets an A on a test. Well, now, after Timmy gets an A on his test, you remove the ban on the Xbox, and then he gets to play his games, which is a negative. You're taking away something to reinforce something. Next would be positive punishment. This is, say, you get a spatula and say, spank Timmy for getting an F on his test. That is you are applying a stimulus to discourage the repeating of an activity. Now, you could do the same thing with negative punishment, like say you take away his Xbox privileges for doing poorly on a test. Now, I know that sounds a little complicated, but we'll get to do another example before we get out of here. So we'll move on to the next thing, B.F. Skinner. He's the one that came up with this concept, and he was extremely influenced by Pavlov and his dog experiment. Say, for positive reinforcement, an example that may occur in this experiment is when the rat pulls the lever, they get a pellet of food. That is positive reinforcement. For the thing you want to reinforce is the pulling of the lever. So the stimulus you apply is you provide them, you give something positive, a food pellet. So we could apply a negative punishment, in which if they pulled the lever too much, he would just stop. But you could also do a positive punishment, in which he would provide a shock if they pulled it too much, to prevent them from pulling it again. Now you could also do a negative reinforcement, and maybe he keeps the grid shocking until the rat presses the pellet. Now that is the basic understanding of operant conditioning. Good luck on your tests in about 5 more minutes, and have a good day.